So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't do anything casually. I wish I did. I don't even read books casually. If I read a book and I feel like it's very predictable, I just throw it away. I read like 5 pages, it's gone. But I read a book that kind of shook me up. It really challenged me. I read his books before. Dr. Phil Stutz is a psychotherapist. There's a Netflix documentary about him called Stutz, made by Jonah Hill. And Phil Stutz has a new book, Lessons in Living. And I'm reading the book, and I realize I've been blind. I've been spiritually, psychologically, and egotistically blind for like over 10 years. And here's the thing, man. Oh, God, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I've been so proud of who I am and what I do that as my retirement from my college writing class gets closer and closer, I'm about 2.5 years away, I've always told myself and told other people, this is going to be good because you are a man of structure. You do your kettlebell workouts in the garage, you play piano, you do reading, and you do writing. And I've always been saying that over and over and over again. And I'm reading Phil Stutz's book, and I realize that all of those things that I do that I think are going to keep me afloat when I retire, they're all inadequate. They're completely inadequate because my working out in the garage is done in isolation. The piano is a solitary endeavor. The reading and writing are solitary. And what I learned in Phil Stutz's book is our higher self doesn't flourish in these isolated circumstances. What he says is, and this is going to be my language, we have to work in a crucible. We have to collaborate together in a crucible, a concentrated area where we have a shared goal. And in this concentrated area where there's conflict, where we engage in conflict, we grow, we go through this alchemy, we go through this transformation, and through that, there is bonding, there is connection, and there's meaning, and there's the flourishing of the higher self, and that is the meaning of life. And if I love my workouts in the garage, but they're solitary. I love playing the piano, but it's solitary. Love reading and writing, but they're solitary. It's not going to bring me to the crucible. So I'm reading this book, and it's like I've been lying to myself. I've been saying, you are healthy because of your structure. You're ready for retirement. I'm like the dude who works out, and he thinks he's fit, and then he gets blood work done, and he realizes he has to have an emergency heart surgery because he's about to have a heart attack. That's pretty much how I felt when I read that. So I have a lot of challenges now in finding a crucible. I started thinking about the crucible. Teaching college writing, you're in a crucible because you're engaging with students. Not only are you giving them writing steps, not only are you scaffolding writing tasks to bring them to writing like a full, complete research paper, you're helping them with issues of confidence. They have to see themselves develop a voice that gives them confidence, the ability to turn in a paper that's correct, that's persuasive, that's clear. You can't do that unless you go through a personal transformation, and I'm there with them, and in my better classes, in my best classes, that alchemy is happening. There is that crucible. This happens in business projects. This happens in sports. I was listening to Chris Williamson on his Modern Wisdom podcast talk to Scott Galloway, and they were talking about how some of the greatest friendships are from these collaborative business projects. There has to be a crucible. You have to go through that process. So I started thinking, aside from my job and aside from my family, what has been my crucible for the last decade? And it's really been the online watch community. The online watch community has been my crucible. And I've learned a lot about us watch hobbyists being in this crucible. And it is a crucible because we're looking for mercy, because the watch obsession is merciless. It's a cruel mothership, man. It will put you through the meat grinder. And I've learned a lot of things about my fellow watch obsessives. For those of you who are not part of the watch community, who are not in the Watch Crucible, let me just share some things I know about real watch obsessives. Number one, we don't give a rat's adenoidal gland about status. We do not buy watches as status symbols. We don't care. We couldn't care if we tried to care. We're not in it for that. But we're a weird bunch. We are looking at watches as symbols for like lost childhood, rosebud, unconditional love. We're also looking at watches as props for cosplay. I'm not a diver, but I play one in the movies. I'm going to be in the next movie, World War Z, and this is the watch I'll wear. Yes, thank you. We are well educated, but we're looking for toys because we are the well-educated man-child. That's what we are. But we're not just that. We're also sophisticated art collectors. Yeah. Our appreciation for watches makes us very, very sophisticated art collectors as well. We are. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying. The thing is, man, we get together in the online watch community because we also know we're crazy. Yeah. You know, the show Seinfeld was about self-aware apathy. The characters knew they were apathetic. They were slackers. That's what the 90s decade was about. You can read about it in Chuck Klosterman's book, The 90s. Seinfeld characters, they knew they were apathetic slackers, and they loved themselves. What a show that was. They loved themselves. It was self-aware apathy. Here we are as watch obsessives. We are self-aware mad people. We're nuts. But we get together because on the crazy meter, we want the crazy meter on 7. We don't want it on 11. If it goes on 11, wives kick us out of the house and we have a mental breakdown. But we do get together to appreciate art together, to manage our obsession together, to keep the dial down to 7. And it's been the crucible I've been in for about 10 years. It's kind of ironic that I thought about this after reading Phil Stutz's book. And by the way, I feel really lucky. I feel very, can I use this word? I feel very serendipitous that I read Phil Stutz's book because I was just like ready to retire in a couple years thinking that my 4 isolated hobbies would be adequate. And I don't know, man. I got to rethink it. And here I am now reframing my watch hobby and my behavior on the online watch community as being part of a crucible. And I have to tell you, maybe it has to do with my age, I don't know, but my watch obsession has cooled off a bit. It's down, the dial is down to 7. It's funny when I say that, I equate my watch obsession with managing a skin rash. He has the right medicinals and topical ointments. He's managing his skin rash. He's managing his watch obsession. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm managing it in part because I have a 7-watch rotation, and I like all my watches. I don't want to sell it. I love this watch, the Amura. What are you going to do? And I love them all, and it's weird. I have 7 watches in my rotation, and frankly, that's a lot for me. It feels like it's more than I can handle. And, you know, I'm always tempted, of course, by these beautiful works of art that I see. But, man, I can't imagine fitting another one in my rotation. It would give me a mental breakdown. It would bring the dial up to 11. I got to keep it at 7. So, I don't know where I'm going to go from here, but I'm so glad I read Lessons in Living by Phil Stutz because it's making me think that my pride, my ego is inadequate, man. I can't do Lone Ranger activities. I can't be the Lone Ranger dude and be my higher self and thrive and flourish and be my smart self. It's just like when I was teaching, I still teach. I've been teaching for about 37, 38 years, and to keep the students engaged, you have to create a persona that's strong enough to hold their attention and grab it for a 16-week semester. I wouldn't be that smart or have a persona that strong if I wasn't in that particular type of crucible, had that particular type of conflict engagement. And, Phil Stutz, he reminds us that society's always telling us to relax, that happiness is absence of conflict, it's chilling. And it really isn't. When we isolate ourselves and just want to remove ourselves from stress, we're actually shrinking ourselves. There's a certain atrophy that occurs. So what am I going to do, man? My watch obsession is in a cool-off mode. What's my next crucible? I don't have one. Life isn't offering me a crucible on a silver platter. I'm glad I read Stutz's book. I'm keeping my ears open. I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to stay open because I'm no longer under the delusion that my Lone Ranger activities. In fact, I'm going to do a kettlebell workout in the garage after this video presentation. They're not enough, man. Not enough. Ladies and gentlemen, what is your crucible? Do you look at the online watch community as a crucible? Am I onto something? Are you going to read Phil Stutz? Let me know, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, I'm out.